Is there such a thing as a time machine, a device that could enable us to travel back through time? That is a question that has puzzled man for centuries. Hello and welcome to Time Searchers. I'm your host, Roger Blissman. This show is a series of programs produced by the General George Washington Minuteman Historical Society, an organization dedicated to the serious study of American history. When I was a small boy growing up, I read a lot of history books and some science fiction ones too. I especially liked stories such as Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth and Around the World in 80 Days. Stories like these fired my imagination. I also read H.G. Wells' Time Machine story and was fascinated with the idea of time travel. I asked myself, is it possible that I could combine my interest in history with science and actually journey back through time and experience history firsthand? Could I actually meet the people that made history? Many individuals, including H.G. Wells and Albert Einstein among others, have explored this question. First, I think I should explain the scientific principles that are the foundation of time travel. When I speak of time, I refer to the fourth dimension. The difficulty of explaining the fourth dimension is that it cannot be seen or felt. When it comes to time, we are prisoners. Time is the fourth dimension. A time machine provides the possibility of movement within the fourth dimension. Time travel itself is movement within the fourth dimension. Time changes space. That is the essential foundation of the concept of time travel in the fourth dimension. For instance, this building that I'm sitting in right now did not exist 100 years ago. And 100 years from now, it very well might not exist. But coming back to my original question, is time travel possible? This is my time machine, a metal detector. No, I can't actually travel back in the fourth dimension, back through time, but I can follow what I call the trail of the fourth dimension, meaning that the people in the past have left behind artifacts that are evidence of their existence. Their own time capsules, so to speak. Through our careful research and study of historical accounts and maps, we can follow this trail of the fourth dimension to recover these artifacts, to preserve our heritage and further our studies of life in the past. Thank you, and I think you'll find that as we develop this series, I think you'll be quite interested in some of the finds we make. They may not be hugely spectacular finds, some maybe will, we're certainly hoping they will, but we're really interested, if nothing else, in the everyday lives of the people of the colonial era and perhaps beyond. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Time Searchers. At this time I'd like to introduce my co-host and our guide through time, Bill Relic. Bill has been a long-time amateur historian, archaeologist, and he's been involved with recovery of artifacts and coins for many years. Through the years, he's recovered literally thousands of relics and coins that date back to the colonial era. And at this point, Bill is going to explain some of his research methods, and he's brought some of his items, tools of his research with him. At this time, I'd like to introduce Bill. Hi, Bill. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for the introduction there.
Well, certainly you're welcome, Bill. And what are some of the things that you've brought to show our audience today?
Okay, I want to start off with the easy stuff, what I consider easy for research. At the beginning days, I used to look for like pamphlets like these, or little booklets. This one here says Vacation in Maine. And Maine goes back to the 1600s, early 1600s. And just from the different towns and other little bits of history you get from this, you can apply that to metal detecting and find other things there too.
Well, when you say you can take like a pamphlet, almost like a tourist pamphlet, what sort of information can you garner from a modern day tourist pamphlet?
A lot of these tourist pamphlets may put you on to, say, an old lighthouse. One of the oldest lighthouses ever made here in the United States was, I think it was 1792 or something like that. George Washington commissioned it. And it's the oldest existing lighthouse in the United States, and it's up north too. But there's different places. Even lists was John Paul Jones, the famous captain, Marine captain of the Navy. His house is in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. There it is right there.
Oh, I see.
And plus it has like Fort McClary, where there was a lot of Revolutionary War action there, and then plus a little later there too.
Oh, I see.
And plus it does mention a lot of Indian raids in here. It mentions tips on the Indian.
So
raids
it would give you, for some of the more well-known sites, it would give you an idea of the history of it and the general location.
Exactly right. Yes.
I see.
It's a great information guide there. Here's another one here I got in Scotland. It's called Roman Britain. And what this is a map. It opens up to a big, huge map, and it lists every Roman road that existed during the 1st, 2nd century, maybe early 3rd century, I'm not sure. But more amazingly is some of these roads still exist today and still have the Roman names and stuff, so it's quite unique. Even though it might be blacktop there, but it's still, where that blacktop road is still the original road the Romans used right there.
Well, I've even read that some of the bridges and even a couple viaducts that the Romans built in Europe are actually still in use.
Yes, yeah.
And in fact, on these maps, didn't you at one point tell me that on these modern day maps of Britain that they show where some of these Roman coin hoards were found?
Yeah, it sure does. It lists a lot of these hoards in here. And then plus, if there was like archaeology digs, or say they built a housing place and they found, say, Roman artifacts or whatever, they won't list the artifacts, but it puts little dots or triangular things in there, and what it means is they found Roman relics there and stuff, and usually the local museum have them, in there for what they've found. So.
But it is amazing, some of the things they found over there. In fact, Bill had told me that when he was a small boy growing up in Scotland, when he walked to school, he actually found Roman coins. Why don't you tell our audience about that a little bit, though?
Well, I was a pretty young lad in Scotland there, taking a shortcut through the farmers' fields and stuff, and getting to school, and we used to find these really small round discs. Some of them too were size of a quarter, a little bigger too, and some were smaller than the size of a dime. And I never knew exactly what they were. I was like too young to know what they were, but later in life I found out they were Roman coins from the 1st century.
Wow. That's...
Yeah, and in the same field too. Later, when I was probably about 9 years old, maybe 10, I found a dagger from the 13th century.
Wow.
And in the field, I call it the potato field because that's what they did there, plant some potatoes.
Wow.
But what's really amazing with it, my grandmother used it up to the day she died to open up mail, the envelopes and stuff. But anyways, it was quite a find.
That was.
And that was all without a metal detector too, all eyeball stuff.
Wow, but I'm sure that's what put you on the road.
Well, it sure did.
History.
Like there's another one here. It's like